All right. We are here. This is the Finch. I'm here with Anna Zakrisson. How is life in Germany right now?
Well, I would like to say it's great because that's what you do when American ask you how are things. But we are in the midst of a pandemic, so of course life is not bad, but it's a little bit lonely because we have to be very isolated and separated from friends and family, etc. So,
How's the handling of the pandemic going in Germany?
well, I think Germany has handled this relatively well. They Germany went into a complete shutdown in the spring when I was actually not in Germany. I was in Sweden during that time. But I think the response has been fairly good. Of course, nothing is ever perfect, and you can always find something that isn't good. But on the other hand, we can't. We we're not psychics. We don't know what the future is holding for us. So based on the data they had available, I think they made decent decisions.
Hmm. That's good. It hasn't gone well here.
No, I know. I have read and understood that.
It's one of those things where it's interesting. Being Americans tend to have this very sort of rebellious, sort of not liking authority sort of mentality about things. And there have been times in our history where that served us well. And right now it is like our Achilles heel. It is absolutely, you know, existing here in the middle of the country and just daily, for the most part, I got to admit, people are pretty good. People are at the very least wearing masks.
Yeah,
But you've
that's
also
good.
got a lot of, it's like the anti-mask thing has almost become the anti-vaxxer thing, where it's like,
Yeah.
it's all about control and that's all they're trying to do. And, you're sort of like, what government is achieving control by getting you to wear a mask? Like, what are
Yeah,
they
especially when
achieving?
people are wearing carrying iPhones and other like telephones in their pockets where you basically literally can trace you so easily. And so they're basically using Facebook on their phone on a traceable device to complain that the government is controlling them through wearing masks. like okay.
Right.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
it's sort of like a rising issue, and I was interested to get your take on it. How prevalent this is in Europe versus here in the United States, but all these sort of things like anti-mask, anti-vaxxer, that you
Mm.
can all kind of lump into this like anti-science sort of bent that's happening right now, which personally has me befuddled and just sort of like not understanding, like, if we live in an alternate dimension where things just don't make sense. Um, is that as prevalent in Europe as it is here in the States?
It's a little bit hard to say. I think that some things are as prevalent here as in the States, but then other things yet are not. We can see that here we have a very big overlap between mask non-wearers and right-wing extremism. Whereas in Sweden, the link appears to be between non-mask wearers and more left people. And this is so weird because I speak both Swedish and German, and I read the news from both countries or listen to them. I try to do that every day, and you get this completely different opposing views, and it had nothing to do with the facts. It had nothing to do with scientific fact. It's all just about populism and basically who. Okay, so Group A gets into a position. So now it's completely irrelevant what that position is, because in our false dichotomous society, if Group B then hates Group A, they have to have the opposing opinion. And now this is where you get completely bizarre situations like that the right wing people says the same as the left wing people, like compared like Sweden and Germany. And and this is like a typical, I mean, here you can really see that it really has nothing to do with the science. It just has to do with you have to have the opposing opinion to the people, to the other group. And I think this dichotomous thinking is the death of our society, and this like two party thinking, two opinions, is everything is just black or white. There are no like gray zones, etc., etc. And that is very sad that people can't keep more than two thoughts in their head at the same time.
Well, I think he absolutely nailed it, and it is so obvious to the point where it would be laughable if it wasn't
Mm.
so frustrating and in some cases even damaging. Um, and I look at it here in the States, and you'll have, left wing, right wing, and if you're left wing, you have to believe everything the left wing believes, and if you're right wing, you have to believe everything the right wing believes.
I know. And if you say one thing that you think, okay, well, maybe this group actually has a point about this, then you get stamped as the enemy immediately. And you don't really have even the opportunity to just say, well, maybe they have a point here. I'm not saying that the solution is good, but that we need to discuss this topic more. And I've had those situations several times from both left and right, or conservatives and liberals. And I'm like, but I'm a person with sometimes some conservative opinions, and I have some liberal opinions. I have some, I am a complex being with many different types of opinions. I refuse to put myself into, left wing, right wing, or liberal or conservative. That is a stupid system, and I
Mm.
don't want to take part in it.
Well, and it ends up giving you a lot of baggage, because it seems like because of that, if you end up expressing, like, let's say, a liberal thought, then
Mm.
everybody's going to take everything that is known that liberals believe in, put that on you immediately. Like, you
Yeah.
don't have the opportunity to say, well, I kind of agree with the left a little bit on this, and I kind of agree a little bit with the right on this. I'm just kind of, but if you were to like say something, and then all of a sudden everybody's just all up on you, and like, well, that means you probably think this, and you think this, and you think this, and it's like there isn't there isn't a lot of opportunity for like diversification of thought or ideas. It's pretty
Yeah.
much pick your tribe, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think was it yesterday, the day before yesterday? I managed to be called a Nazi and a Marxist in within 1 hour. I'm like, dudes, no, like, listen. Can we just take a deep breath now and
Well, that's also the landscape of social media for you.
yeah.
It's like either side is ready to label you as the absolute worst, and those are kind of the things, isn't it? Like if you don't agree with someone, you can either just call them a Nazi or call them a Marxist, and that puts them in their place, and then they get to move on with their life. And
Yeah.
I was just of course, it's just a little after 9 a.m. here, so I haven't been up for too terribly long, so I'm just kind of catching up to it. What was the kind of like dust up that happened with you on Facebook earlier today?
Oh, yeah, I basically went in. I saw a post that I deeply disagreed with. So I shared it to my own personal profile, and I made a comment on my personal profile. This was not on my public page. It was not anywhere else. The post, however, was open. Um, but it was really on my personal profile. So I made a comment there. Could I have chosen my words better? Probably. But did the outfall kind of prove my point? Yeah. So basically, the admin from that page went in and screenshotted my comments, or my comment. I only made one comment on my page and my personal profile, and posted it on her page with 70,000 people. And basically just allowed a witch hunt to start. It was, I think it was like 200 or 300 comments within an hour. Everyone basically telling like how a horrible person I am, and that I should go to hell or whatever, whatnot. And I felt a bit like, so I continued writing. It's like, hello, Anna, I'm the one who made the comment. I'm happy to discuss with you, and this is why I made the comment, etc., etc. So I tried to sort of kind of be reasonable, but my comments were just continuously deleted, and she kept on posting about this, and saying, it's the most horrible thing, and she has to go to therapy now and talk about this and stuff like that. And I was like, what? What
What?
are you talking about? But it was a little bit weird, because I mean, I've been on social media for a long time. I've had death threats, I've had rape threats, I've had dick pics, I've had it all. And most of it, I have such thick skin. I just shrug it off. And to be honest, like 99% of all the comments or like messages I get are lovely, nice, lovely messages, and particularly the ones I get from women who have problems with endometriosis or stuff like that. Lovely, lovely comments. And but despite all of this experience I have with weird kind of threatful comments on social media, this crawled under my skin, and I can't really explain why it was such a trigger, but it really, really got to me, probably in a way that it shouldn't do. But it really shows that no matter how hardened you are by social media, there's always going to be a topic or something like that that is going to get under your skin, and that will actually cause you to actually basically become upset, which I thought I was incapable of becoming after all of these years now. Most of the time I'm like, yeah, whatever, and then I just go on and do something else. I can find like I feel a slight annoyance. The only thing that I can get really upset about actually is if I notice that I have posted something that was actually wrong, then I get really upset, but then I get really upset with myself.
Yeah.
And I tried to make retraction posts. If I have posted something that was wrong, I have made it to my habit to put up a post and say like, sorry guys, fucked up. I was wrong. Sorry about that. The cone of shame, and etc. But yeah, this was something else weird.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the bizarrety about, I guess, the human brain now in dealing with the age of social media, where you can get 1,000 comments or messages that are really positive and uplifting, and it makes you feel really good, and then it just takes one to knock the whole scaffolding down. Just one asshole who's just like, you know what, fuck you, and then the rest of the day you're like, God, that guy, which when you think about it statistically is like the one tiny pea at the bottom of the pile, but for some reason that's the one that gets you all riled up and just bugs the crap out of you. I understand completely.
Yeah.
I'm happy that you do that, you print the retraction post, because I think that's something that is sorely needed. Again, in the age of social media, the amount of false stuff that you see posted out there, and people still, I don't know if it's pride or whatever, and, insist on sticking by it, insist on backing it up, even though every amount of evidence you can find can show like, hey, yeah, that wasn't correct. Especially dealing in the age now of, hashtag fake news and everything that gets bounded around, that it's good to see people who are being responsible about it. So really, really appreciate that. So I'm gonna back up a little bit. So being a biologist, at what point in time in your life did you say, this is the path that I want to go down?
With biology, you mean?
Yes.
Well, that's a little bit hard to say. I mean, I was always interested in biology. I thought it was pretty cool. So it was always an option of something that I wanted to do. Then I can't really say exactly how much of my choices were actually just made out of a habit because my family is kind of in that field. So to be honest, because I think I would have also been happy studying psychology, for example, and such. So, but I think it was around when I was like 21, 20, when I decided to read up my A levels and apply for university. Because it wasn't completely sure that I was going to go to university, to be honest. I had been out traveling for a bit. I had completely left Sweden, broken completely with my family, sold everything I owned, and I've been out on the road traveling for I think like almost 2 years. And so I had I was getting prepared to just sort of like live a nomad life and not really do anything like that. And then I was actually having having a fair few gin and tonics with my friend Karina, when she was like, yeah, I fucking dare you to go and sign up for school tomorrow to like read up your sort of A levels. I was like, well, fuck you, I'm gonna do that. And next day, hangover as hell, I went and signed up, and I did the double speed A levels that year, and worked like a crazy person to sort of like feed myself during that year as well. That was probably the hardest year I've ever experienced in my life. But got into Cambridge University that year, so against all odds, I think. Yeah, managed to swear in my interview.
Yeah.
Yeah, like because I think I think they asked me something about my travels, and I told them about that time when I was crossing from Swaziland into no, it was from Mozambique into Swaziland, and I basically got caught there with the with the border patrols, and they were basically trying to get me to stay there and basically disappear me, and it was a
Whoa.
very very dangerous situation, and they basically I ran away from that border control to actually not get stuck there as their sort of personal whatever they wanted to do with me kind of person. So that was very very scary, and I told this story to them, and they were like, oh, you must have been so scared, and I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, I would have been so stupid if I weren't. So that was my entry interview to Cambridge University.
You got to tell me, was it a room of stuffy old white men who were just like, or do they have a good sense of humor about it? Because that's a great story.
It was an all women's college, and I think they were quite sort of eager to get in to accept women with a little bit maybe colorful backgrounds there. I don't know. I mean, I had all the grades and all the stuff I needed. But that's the problem at Cambridge. Everyone got the same grades. Everyone got straight A's. Everyone got they. I think maybe weird things like this is actually can be a selector or daddy's money.
Right. Yeah. I can see that. So moving on from there, at what point in time did you decide that sort of being a science communicator was a route that you wanted to go?
That's also an interesting story. Hold tight. No, just kidding. No, this one isn't actually as adventurous. This one is basically I finished my PhD. I was in the middle of a divorce. Didn't know when to see my daughter again. I was stuck in Sweden. Couldn't get any unemployment pay in Germany, so I had to stay there for 2-3 months during the whole divorce proceedings. And my daughter was here. It was just really fucking shit. And then I got back to Germany, and nobody wanted to hire me because I had a kid, because they all assume that having a child as a woman, you'll be the only caregiver basically. So I was always like, every job I applied to, and this was almost like the worst part, I was always there until the bitter end. It was between me and another person, and I never got it. And the problem is that if they could have at least kicked me out in the beginning of the process, I would have saved time.
Mm-hmm.
But they never did. So in the end, I ended up with a PhD, 5 university degrees from elite universities like Cambridge University, Max Planck. I had been like a researcher at Leibniz as well, like a guest researcher. So I ended up with a half-time position at Charity and making 1,200 euros a month for me and my daughter after all of those years and student debts. So, and this is when I slowly realized that, you know what, this research career is not going to happen. It is not going to happen because I will never be able to I mean, the chances of ever getting tenure is zilch. So I actually in this process I started Dr. Anna's Imaginarium, my platform, as a kind of keeping myself sane project, just to sort of like get up in the morning, write something, publish it. Is like I published so many shitty articles during that time. I have deleted all of them. That was terrible, terrible stuff. And the arrogance I had, oh my God. I mean, if you ever had Dunning-Kruger, communication Dunning-Kruger, I had it massively. I was shit. Oh my God, I was bad. But I managed to get like I was on there and I still got things out, and I got punched down again and again and again. People started reading me and criticizing, etc., etc. And eventually I learned, and then I started to read a lot of books about marketing and communications, and then eventually I got a job actually as head of content marketing at the biotech marketplace, in which I learned tons of stuff. This is where my interest for communication really, really, really grew. And I understood that it is, in the end, marketing. and so I grew like a very, very strong interest in marketing for the sake of communicating science. So that's basically what I, over the years now, I've become a specialist in search engine optimization and content marketing. So.
Okay. That because I feel like as we talked about earlier, the whole like anti-science bent that's sort of going on across the world right now. People who are good science communicators are really, really important, because I feel like one of the hardest things to do is when you have someone who is decidedly in the other camp, and engaging in that person in a way that can be informative, perhaps funny, maybe get them to think about their position a little bit more. Because I tend to think that if you just go at someone who you disagree with in an angrily fashion, that you're just sort of shooting fire at each other, and it doesn't, there, I can guarantee you there's never been a time in my life where I felt one way about thing and somebody who felt the other way came at me and started screaming at me, and I thought, you know what, you've got a good point, I'm going to have to rethink everything I've ever believed. There's kind of a certain care that has to be, or angle that has to be taken to do that in a proper way. I guess at the end of in all this, the question I have is, do you put a lot of thought into that, or a lot of care in how you approach certain subjects, especially through social media?
I think it depends on for whom I do work. So I through my company I do science communication for a range of different companies, and so on behalf of them, I would communicate in a very, very different way, and you have to work out a strategy that would fit for their topic, etc., etc. The only thing that I have said, I say it also clearly on my webpage, I do not take on any project that I do not sorry about this, that I do not ethically or morally believe in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a statement that I have on my page, and it might have lost me a fair few clients in the past, but I could not simply live with myself if I if I took on some bullshit and I used the marketing powers to for greenwashing or something like that. I have zero interest in that. And but then on my own platform, Dr. Anna's Imaginarium, the problem for me is a little bit time. I have a child. I have I need to make money on the side as well, and etc., etc. So sometimes, of course, I don't have the time that I maybe feel like I should invest to on social media and such. But yeah, my own platform has got the personal branding around that, and the strategy I have there is different than, for example, the one I have for Purple Roof, for example. But the core background is the same, of
Mm-hmm.
scientific honesty and integrity, at least.
Okay, that's always yeah, because I think similar to what you were saying, I think I want to say back in like 2000, maybe 13, I really, 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 really got into science, really, really enjoy it. But the difference is, I think that at one point in time, I thought that when it came to science, that I sort of understood the tip of the iceberg in terms of what all was there. The more I read into it, the more I realized, like, no, the level I'm at is I'm just aware that there's even an iceberg,
Yeah.
because there is so much. I remember I got into reading a lot of books by like Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson, Michio Kaku, and they were excellent people at being science communicators, in the sense that they could talk, on what we would call like the layman's level. But whenever you read an interview with them or something like that, where they get like really granular, really into the nitty gritty of some of that stuff, I just felt like my mind was going to collapse in on itself. And eventually you just have to come to grips with the fact that, yeah, I'm too stupid to understand this. But they're smart. They know what they're doing. And, that's a great thing that they're able to explain it to people in a way that makes sense. But you're sort of, I sort of went in this thing where I got really, really into the anti-vaxxers, the and especially like God, the one that bothered me the most, and I don't know how prevalent this is in the rest of the world, but this sort of like anti evolution mentality, which runs really deep here in America. There's
Yeah, it doesn't. I can't really say that I've come across that even here. It's just
really.
a scientific fact like gravity.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, I want to say like 40% of Americans believe in creationism, and that which is an insanely high number. And and it's so, of course, it's so rooted in religion and Christianity, and
Mm.
and throughout the decades there have been numerous court cases involving school districts attempting to teach evolution, and it's been any event. The point I'm trying to make is that you know feeling the way I felt about it and how much that angered me, I sort of felt like on social media I kind of got on a high horse about it, which, excuse me, which is sad, because eventually you turn into that person that everybody just hates, even though
Mm.
you're factually right, even though you're got all the information, everything there. People just get to the point where like, oh God, here's this guy again. Okay, you know what I mean? And that's kind of the area when it comes to these things you want to avoid, even though you may be in the right. The way you communicate it is extremely important, I think.
Yeah, but going back to again, you need to think about who am I communicating with and why. So for me, I have come to terms with the fact that I might not communicate with anti-vaxxers, or I might not communicate with flat Earth people. I communicate with people who kind of like, I like to hang around on social media. They see a funny meme and that's a post about global warming. Maybe I should read it. Those kind of people, the sort of in between,
Mm-hmm.
um, because the in between people can easily become the anti-vaxxers or the flat Earth people, if they're exposed to that kind of information too frequently and too much. So and also the fact is that my target group is just like, if I'm being completely honest, it's pretty 50-50 men and women, and I think it's a normal distribution with the peak around like 35 or 40 years old or something like that. So I'm communicating to people kind of my own age group, my own social standing, kind of my own political convictions. But there are a lot of people in that target group that are vulnerable to disinformation. So those are the people that I'm talking to. I'm probably not talking to a housewife in Texas that votes Trump and believe in creationism. So I think trying to communicate with everyone is probably a mistake. Try to figure out very clearly what is your target group, and then focus really on them. And if you get criticism, and if you get people telling you you're a complete dickhead from other target group, just put that and just put it aside and say, like, there's always going to be people who are not happy with this. Just as long as I can communicate with the group that I've selected, then all is good. And then yeah, so I think that's something very, very, very important.
I think you nailed it on the head. That's perfectly put. I agree with you 100%. I cannot argue with that. So switching gears, did I because I've listened to a few of your podcasts, and was doing some research, in preparation for this. Did I understand it correctly? Are you a metalhead?
Yeah, well, like
That is awesome. That is awesome. You're talking to an old school American metalhead here. So
yeah.
what so here's a question, completely unscience related, although maybe it is because it's cognitive. um you are, let's say nuclear war is about to break out, all right,
Okay.
and you're going down into a bomb shelter and you're going to be there for the rest of your life. You're allowed to take 5 albums with you. No, let's say this: 5 artists with you that you can take their entire catalog of records, albums, CDs, whatever. Where would you go? What would you take?
Oh my God. I mean, there's a difference of, like, there's some bands that I think do really good music. Would I like to spend time with them? Probably not. Imagine being locked in with Ministry
Oh,
for the
geez.
rest of your life. I mean, I'm just saying, right? so, so, yeah. Well, Ministry, I think, would be something that I'll be happy. Then, oh God, this is really, really hard. Pink Floyd, good, some good Gillette music, good quality.
Hmm.
I like that. Um, then, well, Karach Angren might yeah. Then this is really, really hard. It's like I get too many bands in my head at the same time.
Right.
Something that actually, I mean, I know that I can't just listen to metal when I'm there. So Massive Attack I would probably bring with me as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Massive
yeah.
Attack has meant a lot to me through the years. And Motorhead.
Hmm. Oh yes,
Motorhead would be really, really good.
yes.
But imagine being locked in with Ministry and Lemmy for the rest of your life. I mean, I know he's passed to greener pastures, but just imagine. My God,
You wouldn't
I'm
want
not sure
him.
my life would be very long. I think I'll manage like 2 weeks and then I'll probably snuff it.
I'm trying to imagine being stuck in an enclosed place with Lemmy growling at me for the rest of my days. That would just.
Yeah, and then I probably add my husband to that as well. He's also a musician, so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I have to ask you because it's something that I am probably pretty ignorant about, but nonetheless fascinated. Is in doing research for this, I came across a page about a thing called the man hanged. And
Yes.
I am insanely fascinated in it. And rather than attempting to explain it to the listeners, I'm just going to let you do it because this thing's like freaking metal as hell, man.
Yeah, so basically it's an opera piece. We or my husband Joa, he's an opera singer, with kind of an international career, and he used to be a metal singer actually before he became an opera singer. So he had a metal band and such. So he's like a metal dictionary. But anyway, so we also do a lot of secure stuff like body suspensions, like hook suspensions. Okay, so basically hook suspensions when you put hooks underneath your skin and you hang yourself in your own skin. Basically, I know it sounds completely insane. It's probably is a lot less dramatic than it looks. So anyway, with Joe had decided to do an opera called based on 8 Songs for a Mad King. It's basically an opera about Mad King George, T. George, as you know him in the U.S. And who I think he said something. Somebody says like, yeah, he lost America to the Americans. But anyway, so King George was pretty mad, and so we had this music, which is kind of mad music as well. But the whole opera started. It was an opera festival, and the whole opera started with a scientific lecture of about 10 minutes, where I talked about what it was kind of a performative lecture. So it was a little bit of fire and a little bit of this and that in the beginning, and it was kind of a part of the whole performance as well, because I was playing a doctor then who actually brought the Mad King George on stage as well, etc. And then we had the opera piece where it was basically singing about the sort of like subjective experience of King George, his hallucinations. He sings about all these things that he sees. And then at the end, Joa was basically getting hanged up in these hooks, and we had built like little microphones that basically took up the muscle contractions of the muscles of his own body. So we looped them in, so you got this like weird like crunchy sounds of the muscles contracting when he was actually suspended in the hooks. And he sang his kind of a duet with his own like muscle contractions when he was hanged at the end, to sort of get the audience to feel a little bit more. It was just the idea was basically to get the scientific lecture, the sort of like more outside view, the sort of subjective view, and then have the audience actually feel the pain themselves a little bit towards the end. And it was like, came out at the end, and it was just like gray hairs in the whole salon in an opera festival, and I was like, Jesus fucking God, what did we just do? And I got out and we like walked out afterwards on stage to just, to bow and all that. And he was just silent. And I was like, no, fuck no. This is like, what did we just do? And then it was just like storming applause and people standing up and stuff like that. So it was very popular and much, but I had a bit of a panic moment before we started.
That has got to be one of the most metal fucking things I've ever heard in my life.
Thank you.
So
science communication.
Yeah. Wow. So microphones picking up the muscle contractions.
Yeah, yeah.
That is so out there, man. That is awesome.
Yeah, it was really pretty cool. We got help from a guy who's built these and then released the sort of like pattern to the sort of like commons, and we managed to like solder it all together and stuff like that. So we really built everything on our own as well. So we had it a little bit of a sort of crafting sessions before.
That
It was fun.
so when you do body suspension, how deep into the body do you have to go for that in order to kind of be weight bearing, I guess?
Yeah, I mean the skin is pretty tough.
Hmm.
So if you take like this, um, that would be enough for a hook. You know,
Oh,
like
okay.
yeah. So you just grab it, and then you need to make sure that you massage it properly like this, because that way you massage away all the blood vessels and nerves and stuff like that. But you're not supposed to let go of it. You have to keep holding it and then insert the hook, and have a professional piercer and body suspender do it for you. Do not do this on your own at home, because you can get nerve damage and all sorts of stuff. So don't do that.
Yeah, don't have your buddy Matt, who's like really into meth, be like, "Yeah, bro, I can do that for you, no problem."
Exactly. Let's
That
hang
is,
you in the butt.
yeah, that's probably not the kind of performance that you could like do daily and be like, "Oh gosh, it's Saturday, we got a matinee and a night show."
No. No, not really, I think.
That is, oh wow, that is crazy. Well, hats off to you for doing it. I'm gonna wrap this thing up, but again, I really really appreciate you taking the time to come on, and hope everything in Berlin and Germany and Europe continues to improve, and we're gonna keep on holding fast here in America and hope that eventually brighter minds prevail on this whole thing.
Yeah, let's hope so. Yeah, I think and it looks like there will be some brighter minds in office soon.
Hmm. Yeah, we're hoping so. And it's frustrating because, and I understand that it's a rough position to be in that by shutting everything down, when you live in a largely capitalist society, that's very, very damaging. You have a lot of,
Yeah.
even the community I live in, there's a lot of mom and pop shops, a lot of family owned restaurants and bars and stuff like that some of which are gone under, and even more will continue to go under. So I understand for those people it's extremely frustrating to watch
Mm.
decades worth of their life that they've built just collapse right before their eyes. I understand that, but the flip side of it is that, or more people die.
Yeah, it is really really hard, and that's another discussion we need to have about the balance between those two things. And also maybe we should stop comparing different societies. Like for
Hmm.
example, you cannot compare Germany with the US. Germany has a very very strong social security system. If people get sick, they will get sick pay. If people get unemployed, they will get unemployment money. If people go on social welfare, they go on social welfare. And it's the state will basically create support packages, and that you can apply for, etc., etc. So there is a completely different type of support system here.
Hmm.
So I think it's deeply unfair to make that comparison with the US, where basically the social system looks completely different. And knowing also the little support there is, for example, for people with children, or if you just are sick and missing from work, and that you have very little protection as an employee, that you can get fired extremely easily. So if you say, for example, I'm sick, I need to be home, you might actually find yourself without a job, etc., etc. And it is a completely different environment to be in.
Hmm.
And it's another one of those situations where it's complex.
Yeah.
But I think we can all agree that the way that the Trump administration handled it from the start was not very very efficient.
Right. Well, he was 100% thinking reelection. That's all he was thinking about. If the
Yeah.
economy tanks, he's not going to get reelected.
Yeah.
So for him, and of course, being uh, the amount of psychological labels I could put on him, I could go on
Mm,
forever. But when somebody who doesn't give a shit about other people, it's real easy to be
mm,
like, oh, it's not that big a deal. It's
yeah.
a hoax, and the media is just playing it up to make me look bad, and it's fine. Go ahead and go out there and have your bonfires and have your parties and everything will be fine. And then it continues to spread. And yeah, never mind the fact that when he got it, he was able to get 100% socialized healthcare and the best care in the world to
Exactly. Yeah.
ensure that he's okay. But your buddy Matt down there, who's really into meth and wants to do, body hanging on you, he's not doing so well. He's just kind of, but that's the problem that we have in the United States, is anytime you bring up any of that stuff, like, paid sick leave or universal health care, you're just labeled a socialist and borderline ran out of town. It's like, we're not allowed to have that stuff here, even though, they always love to bring up, when you mentioned that several European countries, Germany and Sweden and France have done very, very well with that. And of course, there's always going to be pros and cons. There's going to be ups and downs to things that need to be handled. The argument always is they've somehow got it into these people's heads that, yeah, but those countries are tanking. Their economies are collapsing, and they're not. Again, it goes back to the communication thing. Like, how do you get people to understand that most of what you're understanding about this is completely wrong?
Yeah. And also the fact is that, I find it often that many US Americans have a hard time distinguishing between socialism and social democracy. So socialism being the old GDR with Stasi, and
yes,
and something that the economy really tanked. It didn't work. Whereas social democracy is something that has been very successfully implemented in the Scandinavian countries, in Germany, in France, all over Europe, with very, very strong economies. And there's a strong element of capitalism in all of these countries. It's just that we have certain aspects of society are socialized. So we have social democracy. And that is very, very different. And it appears to me that that is the most stable system. There is a net for people to fall into should they fail. And of course, there are going to be some cheaters in the systems. But to be honest, I'd rather pay a few cheaters than having a lot of people suffer and fall through the system and work themselves to death, or not being able to pay for their cancer treatments. I don't care if there are some cheaters in the system. We just have to make sure that we build a system that is with some checks and balances.
Right. Well, in America, there's a hard time differentiating between socialism, democratic socialism, and communism. To people, it's all the same.
Yeah.
You try and tell them, oh, we want to do this. Oh, well, you just want to be Stalin and just have the government run everything. It's like, oh my Lord, I don't.
Yeah, we end where we started. Either you're a Nazi or a communist. That's like that's all there is to be in life. Nazi or communist.
One camp or the other. Pick one.
Exactly.
Well, all right. Well, I'm going to let you go. Again, thank you so much for taking time to come on the podcast. Wish you nothing but the best from here in the States, and hopefully we'll talk to you again sometime.
Yeah, thank you. It's been fun.
All right. Thank you.